It's the last time I'm doing this.
Okay.
You're gonna do exactly what I tell you.
Well, it's hard to be serious when you're like, greetings and stuff.
You just said had light fun. Okay. Hey, what's up out there? David Duford here. And
Wait,
David.
start over. I just did a giant sign at the beginning.
All right.
Okay.
In 3, 2. Howdy, Dave Duford here. Today I've got a very special guest who I've never had on in 1,500 videos. It's the old woman behind me. Say hello to my wife, Laura.
Hi.
We're actually here on our 12th wedding anniversary. I can't believe we made it this long.
Me neither.
She actually has been able to put up with me for all those years.
That's right.
So how she's been able to do it, I don't know. But the reason I'm doing this video with you guys today, and I've talked my wife into doing this too, is because I think we've been talking about doing this for like maybe a year plus, something like this. And there's a perspective that I give to the camera every day. I'm on talking about selling insurance, and many of you guys know my story from failing out of my personal training business to failing out of Final Expense, getting back into it, and then doing very well over the course of many years. But you've heard my perspective on it. I thought it would be a wonderful idea, I think. My wife's not too sure. She can be a little too raw and real here. But I think that's why I want to have her on, is because all you've heard is my perspective on the business and my experience. But why not bring on the spouse's perspective and experience? Because I think the big thing before we get started, we're going to talk about kind of how I got into Final Expense, our history, kind of getting into it, not agreeing on things, getting started, and then eventually, you know, getting some traction and seeing over the course of many years that a lot of this was well worth the investment, I think. But yeah, I think the big thing, the reason I'm doing this is because every other video I've ever seen with a spousal interview has been how great everything is and how wonderful it is, and everybody's on stage wearing Rolexes and living the high life. And not that we're not doing that over here, but I think it's important to have a little bit of honesty and integrity in the delivery of what it really takes to get somewhere that's exceptional in life. There's an old saying, you know, everybody has a price to pay if they want to be successful. I heard that years ago, but now I really understand what that means. So what we're going to do is take you through the entirety of this. I don't know what to expect. I've asked my wife to be as brutally honest as possible. I think it's important that you hear the truth from her and not just some perspective from me, because a lot of you out there are in the same position. You've got a spouse, you're about to, or you're currently venturing into the insurance world, and it's good to know what to expect from the perspective of the spouse. So, Laura, why don't you kind of take us back from the beginning? What were your initial thoughts, be honest, of selling insurance?
I was kind of surprised because it was definitely a different avenue for you. And I was also not very excited about it.
Not very excited. When you say not very excited, how do you mean?
Just, I knew it was not going to be a salary. It was going to be, you know, commission based, and it would be a bit of a roller coaster. And did we have David at the time?
We did, yeah.
We had a baby.
And a lot of this was all coming at the time of, you know, we had the personal training gym. It was 2011. Do you remember? It was a tough year that year, because I lost a lot of my clients. The Great Recession was in full tilt. And then, you know, I started looking for jobs and nobody was hiring. It kind of reminds me of kind of what's going on now, or at least what I hear about. And I got desperate. And what do desperate people do? They sell insurance. So I guess the question to ask is, you know, I didn't obviously listen to you, your concerns. Okay, I didn't obviously listen to your concerns, right? I mean, I still decided to jump into this. I mean, what was your reaction when I decided to do this anyway? You know, that I didn't take your opinion to be the direction that I was going to go? I mean, how did that make you feel?
Frustrated and annoyed.
Frustrated and annoyed.
Yeah.
Well, so can you expand on that? What you mean by that?
Just pretty much the same. I mean, I wanted you to go work at like TVA or somewhere that would have a salary and benefits and, you know, good insurance and stability. And I was nervous that insurance sales would not have any of that. So.
And it doesn't. Well, it doesn't for a lot of people. I mean, you know, if you're just looking to get an insurance is strictly 100% commission, at least if you're in the best opportunities. That means you eat what you kill. And we had already spent years doing that essentially in personal training, and now after having a really rough run, we were looking at doing it all over again. So why did I do it? You know, I think part of me, I would admit, and my wife knows better than anybody else, I'm pretty much a stubborn ass. And I think that's that's part of my personality. When I get fixated on what I want to accomplish, there's absolutely nothing that stops me. And it probably is a good thing, but also a bad thing, I would think. It's something that I felt like, and I found as we'll talk about later, you know, working in, you know, real world was just almost impossible for me to do. So let's kind of go through this and progress through this. So in the beginning, you weren't supportive to me like, yay, you're going to sell insurance. You're skeptical at best, but you know, you obviously wanted something different, which is totally understandable after all we went through. So, you know, I think another turning point was what had happened in that first year. So, you know, as I've detailed in other videos, you know, at about the 12-month mark, I failed the business. And I've told this several times. I would like to hear you kind of recollect what you remember of that and kind of the feelings you had.
Feeling the insurance business? I remember just you had a really, really bad day. And you came home from, I think, traveling all around and not really selling anything or getting stood up a lot, and just kind of reached a breaking point. And, you know, we're very stressed out, and trigger my memory a little bit more.
Well, remember when I said we've got $96 in my bank account?
Yes, you told me not to go to the grocery store because we had $96 in the bank account. At that point I was very angry because I felt like you could have went and got what I called a real job, which I'm a little embarrassed of and ashamed now, but I remember saying, why didn't you go get a real job? And we could be, you know, things could be totally different. But instead you didn't listen to me and you decided to do this anyways. And here we are with $96 in the bank account and a baby or toddler at that point.
So tell me, picture yourself in that moment when I told you that we had $96. What emotions and feelings were you feeling? Now that not only were your initial concerns about getting into the business, not only did you had them, but now they were confirmed, right? How did that make you feel?
Yeah. I mean, I felt like I was right and that you didn't listen to me, and now here we were in this bad position. And I was very frustrated and angry and felt like it was a lot of lost time that you could have been, you know, working at TVA and working at the ladder, and, you know, we would have had that security. And so it was very frustrating. I was very upset.
I always used to say this. I tell agents this sometimes, and I've talked about it on video, and I said, you know, kind of going back to this, and this is why, and I get it. I'm not upset about any of this. This is just part of the process, I guess you could say. But I remember thinking, you know, if I asked my wife, would you rather me make, you know, $100,000 a year and have 6 weeks off and work for TVA and have security and you know, assurances to my job without any like level of potential advancement in my life from an income perspective, or like the freedom that insurance provides? Or would you rather me like toil for like 3, 4, 5 years and then start making it big time, way well above ever than I ever would? What would you have said?
I definitely would have said make the money right away.
Stability.
And not have the stability. Dave is definitely more of like a long-term perspective person. Like he looks into the future, and I'm definitely more of like a present person, like now. So
Yeah, and
a
so
little bit of conflict there.
yeah, hey, that's good, yin and yang, man. You know, so but yeah, so you know, it was one of those things where I looked at it at the time I was at. I was like what, 27, 28, something like that. I'm 35 now. And I figured, well, I'm young enough that I can take a chance, so I might as well. But obviously, we got to the point where I failed. And why I failed, just as a quick recollection, is because simply I didn't follow what was supposed to be the way of doing business. There were some issues with the marketing organization I was part of, but I won't cast full blame on them. I made bad decisions as a business person, and I was the one who was responsible, really irresponsible to my family. So tell us what happened after I failed out of the business. What did I do? Where did I go?
You went and worked selling uniforms at Airmark, and you hated it.
Why did I hate it?
Because you had all these hoorah meetings in the morning that, you know, what is it?
Kool-Aid.
Yeah, drinking the
Lots of Kool-Aid.
Just all the, yay, go sell the stuff you don't really care about, you know, uniforms to, you just were not excited about it, and you were not excited about the environment, just very, very corporate, and it just did not, it was...
Do you think at that point that I hated Airmark more than I hated Final Expense?
You were burnt out with Final Expense because it wasn't, you know, it just wasn't going well.
Right.
And then, I don't know. You definitely didn't like Airmark, but you stuck with it for a while because it was necessary.
Yeah, so yeah, I got started at Airmark, and it was my first real job, right? You know, I'd always had the personal training gym since I graduated high school, college, I'm sorry. And I was shocked at the level of bureaucracy, that people would do things or complain, but they never make their lives better. Like, there were good people that worked there. They're all pretty good people, but I saw people that worked jobs there for years that you could tell they hated what they did, but they never took a stand to do anything about it. It was real depressing in some kind of, you know, ultimate sense. You know, I look at work as something not just necessary, but something that we can apply ourselves as a better version of ourselves. So it didn't take long after this realization that I was back to selling Final Expense. What was your thoughts on me after failing out, saying I'm going back?
Definitely not excited.
Not excited. Who would have thought it? See the trend here? But what did I do?
Did it anyways.
Right.
In typical Dave fashion.
So at this point, I was working full-time in a sales associate position. I did this for a full year before going full-time in the Final Expense. So describe to the audience what my schedule was like and kind of what was going on while I was carrying these two things at the same time.
When you were working both?
Yeah.
So we had the twins, right?
No, we did not.
Yet. Okay.
Not yet. That's coming.
So you were working a lot. You would get up super early in the morning and you would go work at Airmark all day long, and then you would go sell Final Expense in the evenings, like immediately afterwards. I mean, I didn't even see you. You went straight to your appointments, and sometimes you would get home. You had to travel, and so sometimes you would get home at like 11, 11:30, 12 o'clock, you know, depending on how far your travel was. And it was very long days, and you'd go to bed immediately, get back up and do it all over again.
And don't forget Saturdays.
And Saturdays too, yeah.
All day
Saturdays
Saturdays.
was your only day off.
Yeah. At that point, I think I had realized, if I remember, you know, I don't regret anything at this point. I'm glad it happened the way it did, because I learned a valuable lesson about, you know, self-discipline and really the blessings that you have for the opportunity to own and run your own business. But I had squandered it. So, you know, I realized in retrospect at that point, now that I was doing something I actually ended up hating more than at the time my, you know, lack of success in Final Expense. I guess I realized that, you know, bottom line, there were mistakes that I made, and I was going to fix them this time. I was not going to go was not going to deviate from the fundamentals like I had so early on, because I remember thinking, you know, I can't believe I screwed this up. There's so much money in this business. There's so much room to be successful. I knew it to my core. It's why I was unshakable in my commitment to this business, even after failure. Well, shortly after failing and realizing the alternatives weren't any better. It was like a realization that, you know, I could do this right. If I only had this, if I only did this, this, and this different, and now I'm going to do it differently and not screw up again like I did. So for that full year, I worked like a madman. I never was home. And then what happened in February that year? Remember?
That's when I had the twins?
Well, that's when you got pregnant with the twins. That's when we found out she was pregnant with the twins.
Yep.
So, buns in the oven, right? And then in August of 2012, we talked about this earlier. Describe that last day at Airmark. What had happened? The car wreck?
Oh yeah, I was pregnant with the twins. I was about 34 weeks pregnant, and I was driving home, and someone drunk turned out of our street and kind of did a huge, giant round turn and smashed into the side of my vehicle right at the door. And so I was rushed to the hospital, and you rushed to the hospital. And
you know, that guy, that is funny. Well, it's not funny. But that guy that hit you drove on home after he woke up from his like drug-induced slumber. Like he got knocked out, woke up, drove home, and his mother drove back in another vehicle. He was cleaned up, washed up or something, right? So he got all the smell of whatever he had on him. And the cop didn't do a damn thing. So it was ridiculous. But luckily you were okay. The babies were okay. And then we ended up having the babies the week after or something like that. Couple weeks after, even Emily. So, being the good husband I am, how much time did I take off of work?
When I had the wreck?
No, when that and when you had the babies, I think.
Oh, none, pretty much.
I think I was right back to work.
Yeah,
really.
pretty quickly, very quickly.
Yeah, and full time too. I mean, it was hardcore.
Yep. And back to traveling and.
So how did that make you feel? Not one kid, not just twins, 3 kids, 2 of twins.
Yeah, so I had 3 kids, 4 and under. Our oldest had just turned 4, and then we had twin 35-week-old babies, and you went back to work, and they had acid reflux and colic, and they didn't sleep, and they screamed all day long. And I can laugh about it now. But
not really.
But then
it's all
you
an act for the camera.
You know, working those long days and traveling. You're going to Alabama and Georgia and
right.
You know, working late nights, and I was at home going crazy.
Right. Why was I doing that? Why was I working like that?
To try to support all of us, right? Yeah.
But more than that, why did I insist on such a high level of commitment, even amongst the reality that we had children, newborns? Why was I pig-headed about?
I think you felt like it was essential, but also you're just that type of person, like you just put in 100% no matter what you do. And so I just feel like you kind of dove into it like, I gotta work hard now and it'll pay off later. But of course.
And how did you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm a present person, so I was not happy about it at all.
As in angry, pissed, upset,
feeling like you were not in the right profession. You should be doing something else.
So
especially with 3 kids, 4 and under, and your schedule was just all over the place. You had to work from morning till late night because you had to see people that, you know, worked during the day and see them in the evenings. And so it was just seemed like a very difficult schedule for the family we had with such little ones.
Right. So that was 2012, like August 2012. And then it was you would say it was a pretty tough year with all this work, more or less, right? Yeah. So, we've talked, and this is, again, why I'm doing this video, because I want you guys to earnestly see that, there's a lot of pain and sacrifice into having a dream that's, it is exceptional in the sense that most people just opt to, go for, which is fine. It's not so much of a criticism to just want what's normal, but there's pain and sacrifice at times for extended periods of times.
Yeah, it definitely was not a cakewalk. It was a lot of sacrifice and time put in.
Right. So let's talk about when things started getting better, or at least you felt like things were turning around. When did you feel like, okay, maybe David's not so off his chain, and all of his ideas and claims of, if we just keep going, this will all work out? When do you feel like that kind of started turning the corner?
Sometime during 2015. Maybe mid 2015 to late 2015.
Right. What was the instance where that happened? When did it become obvious to you?
When you started when you were paying off the debt we had, and we were going to move into a home that was going to be much more comfortable for all of us with the little ones, because we were in a pretty tiny house with not really any space for all of us. And so it was kind of like the yeah. I mean, I remember that feeling. I spent most of 2015. I was doing okay in 2015. Not as good as I wanted to be, but the thing about 2015 was that I had accumulated so much credit card debt, putting leads on credit cards. I had accumulated even money debt from when I had the personal training business. I had gotten a loan with my dad backing it. It was like for 60 grand, and all that really did was just refinance lines of credit that I got back when money was easy before the Great Recession. And I was paying huge interest on it, and I got maybe down to like 15 or 20 grand of that, and then I couldn't make the payments anymore before I started final expense, and I had start paying my dad back off on it. And then I had the car payments and all that. We had bought a new van. I think I was paying off my Civic at the time. I don't know what happened. I felt, for me, the biggest turning point was in 2015 at the end, when we moved into that new house up on Big Ridge. And just the feeling like, okay, wow, I'm starting to see some traction. But I had spent a lot of that year, because I realized part of my problem was cash flow. I had $90 in the bank, like several years earlier. And so I had decided that, I've got to pay this debt off. I don't want to owe anybody anything. The more cash flow that I can have in this business, the better. And that's something I try to instruct my agents on. It's one of the biggest killers of top producers that do very well, is they don't know how to manage their money. And because you're entrapped by your expenses, or whatever your taste for spending money is. So a lot of that time I spent paying all that debt off, probably $50,000 to $60,000 in debt. And then we moved in. And so how did you feel? When did you start to feel like, like beyond that? So what that was, 4 and a half years in? Mm-hmm. Okay. So why did you have faith in me? Did you have faith in me? I'm just saying, it didn't happen overnight. Well, I didn't for a while. Remember, you were kind of the only one standing alone, believing in yourself, and I hate that, and I regret it now. But
did you feel like you had a good reason to feel that way?
Well, yeah. You failed out of it. You didn't listen to me, and we had a couple more children, and we needed stability and security, and
right.
So.
Yeah, and I have zero animosity towards my wife. I never did then either. Right? We were talking about this, and I really think that you guys out there who are doing this, you have to understand you're going to stand alone. Your family may not support you. Your spouse may not support you, but that's what being a leader is. Being a leader is having vision even when there's no reason not to, even when there's no evidence to support your claim.
No reason to have vision.
Well, no. What I'm trying to say is like, you have to have faith in order to be successful at anything in life, and your faith has to be so strong and belief so strong in yourself that nothing can shake it, even the closest people to you, and that's really hard. But I will tell all of you out there, if you haven't been tested on this, you will, and it's a good thing because it tests your real wits to be in this business and see if you can actually survive. So that's how I've always felt about it. I just have always felt like, you know, I love my wife. I feel like I know what's best for our family, and in the short term it's going to be very painful. It's going to be very frustrating continuously, but what I couldn't get out of my head was the idea that at 35, 40, 45, I would be working the man, 80 hours a week, working for somebody else, sure making okay money, but absolutely not having a job, a lifestyle, not knowing my children, not knowing my wife, and working in something that I absolutely abhorred. And I could see people, and that was the thing with Airmark, I could see people who did a job and worked there for years and years and years, and they made good enough money, but they worked like slaves. They had no freedom. They had no joy with what they did. And I was impassioned not to repeat that in my own life, so I was, again, steadfastly pig-headed about it all. But this is, I guess, kind of the reason. So, how has it been since then? Fast forward now, it's 2020. What things have happened since then? How has life improved? What are your thoughts kind of on the state of how things are?
Definitely a lot better. I think 2016 was a really good kind of year. That's when we took our first family vacation, and we went for like a month.
It was 2017.
And you had, 2017,
Mm-hmm.
you had the freedom to work from the condo, and that was really nice. And then just you getting to work from home now and be with the kids and see Ella grow up, you know, that you didn't get to when David and the twins were
Ella's our fourth
babies.
kid.
You had to work all the time. Has been really nice. And then just the freedom and flexibility you have.
How does what I do compare to your friends and their spouses, as far as their freedom and ability to do things and have a life?
Well, they're not entrepreneurs, or, you know, they're not. So they definitely, you know, have a job they go to every day for a set amount of hours, and, you know, just get one vacation week a year. And, you know, this is definitely just really awesome benefits now.
So, what would you tell the spouses out there that are listening to this? If you can kind of wrap up your entire experience, what would you tell them to, as far as maybe they're in the midst of the same things or something similar, they have doubts? What would be kind of your wrapping up kind of like words of wisdom based on your 9-year experience with me going through this entire insurance sales business?
I'd probably just say to expect it to be a bit of a roller coaster, up and down days. But Dave would always say, you know, don't focus on if it was a bad day in sales, focus on the week as a whole. And so he was real positive about that. You know, yeah, it was a bad day or two, but overall the week was good. And just kind of be ready to be patient and try to be encouraging, and because I know I wasn't the best at that, and I regret it now. I would definitely.
I don't blame her. I mean, could you blame her? I was a miserable failure.
It was a tough go for a while.
I'm serious. Like,
But I knew, like, when you started training agents, you know, and even when you had your first agent or two, listening to you on the phone with them, and I knew that was like your calling, that you were really good with people and helping people, and, you know, good in sales, but very good with.
I'm a people person.
Very good with the agents and training the agents and working with them.
Great.
And so that was kind of like when I was really like wow, we're on to something.
So another question for you, as a spouse, how would you describe the present state of affairs now, as far as our lives, what we have, the freedom, accessibility? How would you feel if that was all taken away from you and you were in a position that now I was working for a Fortune 500 company, I was middle management or on the track upwards into upper management, but I was working, I was traveling, like, how would your life be different if I was in like a typical corporate America job? Like, describe to everybody out there what you would be losing.
Oh, well, I've come to really love you working from home. And the kids love him working from home. In fact, if he has to be out, which is not very often, but if he has to, the kids are like, where's Daddy? Daddy, when's Daddy coming home? They just love you being here. And just the freedom and flexibility. I mean, you make your own schedule every single day. If I have things going on one day and I need you, you know, you're able to just move your day or adjust it. You know, if we want to take a vacation, we can go whenever, wherever, for an extended period of time. You don't have a boss telling you, you know, you have a week or two of vacation, and you can work from wherever you are, which is awesome. Just so much freedom and flexibility, and you're so happy because it's just, I knew you know, after working at Airmark and the corporate, I just knew that was not going to work for you. I didn't like seeing you miserable like that, even though it was a salary, but it wasn't worth it.
No, it was worth it, but not for the money.
It was worth it for the experience that, yes, it's confirmed. Yes. I hate this. I don't want to ever do this.
Yeah. So I'm glad I had that, and I could chalk it up to my life experience. I did have a real job. I did hold one for just under a year, and I realized what I really wanted in life. And you know, so I hope I don't know what you'll learn from this. I didn't want to necessarily lead with any sort of moralistic, you know, lessons or anything like that. You know, I think sometimes the best thing to do with these types of videos is to simply just listen and analyze and reflect on what, you know, matches you and what sounds like something that kind of creates an aha moment for you. I think this is one of those videos that I've really wanted to put together a long time, because this is something that just I know is rarely discussed when it comes to selling insurance. It is a price you must pay. Please understand. Do not get into this business to think that you're going to be successful from the first day, even the first couple of years. But that doesn't make it a bad thing.
I would say too, you know, a bad day, a bad week, a bad month even. I mean, it's hard to predict what'll happen after that. And you had plenty of that, but then you would also have really, really good ones, and those would balance out the bad ones. So, you know, just don't get too discouraged, I guess, is what I've seen from your experiences, you know.
Yeah. And you know, I was telling you earlier too that, you know, at this point in my career, you know, I think, again, one of the big motivations of this is, I mean, wouldn't you want people out there to have this kind of life? Wouldn't you want others to kind of know what this is like?
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't, I mean, whether you work for me or not, it's besides the point, but it's that this business can actually provide such a level of lifestyle, not just lifestyle, but just security. It takes time to get to there to some extent, but it provides things that you just won't ever find working for somebody else. And I just...
Like an example too is in 2017 we had a horrific flu and we were very sick, and Dave was sick for like 3 to 4 weeks, and he actually ended up getting, I don't know if you actually had pneumonia, but it was pretty severe.
Coughing up blood.
Yeah, he was coughing up blood. And he was bedridden, and he was still able to work from home somewhat, you know, when you could. Well, you answered emails and stuff like that, okay. Text messages. Yeah. I don't think you were full on, but you were still able to work from home, and you didn't have, you know, we had talked about like what if you worked for somewhere and they would have not given you 3 to 4 weeks off, and you know, you would have been fired probably. You definitely would have got paid, you know, so this really was a blessing during that time. Just something you can't get.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what you can get in this business, not the flu, but actually a great business and career that will it's so hard for me looking. I don't know what to tell you out there who want to do well at this. I can just only sincerely encourage you to continue going even through the hard stuff, and if possible stand alone. You know, I mean, that's...
If you'd given up, we never would have been here. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
If you just quit in 2011 and never went back to it, which
Yeah.
is what I proposed.
Yeah, yeah. So, and that's again why the motivation of this is to show you that, again, another perspective, another important perspective, and to show you the truth. This is a tough gig, and you will face failure, most likely. Most everybody does. But it's the people who can dust themselves off and continue walking the path that ultimately one day will make it in some form or another. So I just encourage all of y'all out there to continue doing it. Hopefully you can see that this is well worth it. I know for a fact it is. I would say the wife believes so too.
Yes.
And I just want you guys to have the same. So if you like what you seen here, thumbs it up. Share it with the spouses especially. Please share it with your spouses. They need to see this if you aren't already sitting down watching this with them. If you got any comments, questions, concerns, or criticisms, you can write them below. I don't care what you say, but if you say something mean about my wife, I'm going to kick your ass. But besides that, thank you so much for watching. And Laura?
Yes, thank you.
See you later. Bye. All right.
Oh, God.